On today's show, my guest is Jay Diaz. If you remember short films like Situationship and The Five Stages After a Breakup, that's him. His debut feature film as a writer director is called Angeleno, which debuts June 20th as part of the Dances with Films Festival in LA. The movie stars Jeff Torres as Angel, a first generation Latino American in Los Angeles. He was a promising young film student until life got in the way. Fast forward a few too many years, and he realizes that his life is passing him by. But after meeting his old film school partner during a chance encounter, Angel endeavors to get his life together and try to make something of himself in the film world while he still can. It's not directly one to one autobiographical, but it is inspired by Diaz's life and experiences. We have a fun chat about the movie, about being Latino American, and the mountains he had to move to get the movie off the ground. If you don't mind, give it a watch or listen. You just might like it. And if you do, leave a like, subscribe, and maybe even a comment. Now then, this is Jay Diaz. Yeah, I mean, I was excited to see it and talk to you because I might be East Coast, but I'm also first generation Latino American on my mom's
Okay.
side,
Okay, yeah, from where?
Honduras.
Okay, right on. Yeah, love it. I love it.
Let's just talk about your career, about this movie, about being Latino American. How's your Spanish? Because mine is non-existent. It's like the great shame that I have.
I would say that I'm fluent, but it's a lot of Spanglish as well. If I don't necessarily know a word, I will just say it in English and see, and hopefully they know what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
My parents speak heavy Spanish, so I got to make sure I can talk to them. So it's there, it's always there, but if I talk to anybody who's really, really fluent in Spanish, I'm sure they're like, I don't know about that. So
Um, yeah, I never criticize anyone else's English because they know two languages, and
yeah,
I barely speak English.
yeah.
So
But to your point, we're Latino American, right? So, that is a different perspective, especially from a first generation standpoint. And so when it came to making this film, I really wanted to showcase what that could look like. Just because I'd never really seen it before. I think there's only when you look at Hollywood and Latino movies, I feel like, it's very narrow about, what it means to be Latino. And I wanted to kind of create a film that sort of showed the everyday life without having to be about gang life or, immigrant life or whatever it may be. It's just like, well, this is just an LA story, and I think it resonates with more than just the Latino market. I think it's a universal story just told through the Latino lens.
I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is there a personal like story involving uh Mi Familia? Because it is invoked so many times in the movie of the white people going, "Oh, your life must be like Mi Familia," right?
That Yes, because I've been in meetings. I had a burst of a career back in 2012 when during the YouTube viral world. We had done a couple sketches and short films that went viral, and from there I was able to take a lot of meetings at the big studios. I won't name which ones, but I was there. And when you're in these meetings, they do like to throw around a lot of stereotypes. And so I thought that was just hilarious, where they just try to kind of put you in this corner. And I'm just like, well, I'm just a filmmaker first, I'm just here to make movies. But they always kind of try to like put you in this corner here. And so Mi Familia is a movie that comes up a lot. And I just thought it was really funny, and I definitely wanted to make sure it made it in the film. So, but Mi Familia is a great movie for me. I feel like it's the Godfather for Latinos. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that I feel like people will get a kick out of that.
We're more of a blood in, blood out house, but Mi Familia is up there as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
When you tell such a specific story, it does become something that people can relate to on a more than just the superficial level, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why, Linklater and Sean Baker are big inspirations for me. I think Sean Baker in particular, what he's done with his career and staying true to himself about who he is as a filmmaker is really what drove me to make Angeleno. He tells these grounded stories with these personal stories that do make you feel engaged in what you're seeing. Like I love movies where you're just kind of this fly on the wall and you're just kind of getting these slice of life of this particular character, or this particular genre or tone, whatever it may be. And so for me, I wanted to show all the different subcultures that LA has because it is such a big city, and you know, what's happening here is very different than what's happening 2 miles away or 3 miles away. It's all just very, very different. And so I really wanted to kind of like show these different pockets of LA, but not in a way where it felt fantastical or it felt like, you look at your La La Lands or Once Upon a Time in Hollywoods where like there's all this elevated sort of feeling to it, but it's just another city. I've got to travel around the world. I've been to so many different cities, and for me, they all kind of have their own unique thing to it, but we're all still the same in some way. City culture in general feels the same. It's where a lot of cultures come together. It's a lot where, they all kind of work alongside each other, and knowing that we're all here for one goal, which is just to live the dream. And so I think that's beautiful.
Hmm. I'm thinking just as a New Yorker that it might be different in Los Angeles, the idea where you're driving everywhere and you can like in the movies say, that they are so close together they just go to different places. And
Mhm.
there isn't necessarily that middle ground like the subway
Right. Yeah.
where everyone is kind of forced to be together, whether they're a stockbroker or a cleaning person or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me about making this, and then there's a great scene in the movie, not to spoil too much, where they talk about Bakersfield, where like, yeah, there is a cityness to it,
Yes.
to wherever you are, but also so specific. I mean, it's right there in the name, Angeleno, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I been to New York. I love New York. It does have this city, like you said, where, you're almost forced together. Where I think LA, it has to be a little bit more intentional. Someone from Santa Monica and someone from down to LA have very two different perspectives about LA. And so for me, it's showing what that is, not only from just a culture side. We go to these different parties within the film that kind of show different people in different perspectives and even different styles of how they approach food. We do a lot of cool things with food and the parties themselves, and that to me, hopefully, people can kind of catch those and the subtext that goes along with it about what it means to be in LA, which I think was going to be really cool to see in a theater.
Uh, I a couple months ago now, I was in Boston visiting my aunt, who's Honduran as well. I was like, "Dia, can you make me like baleadas and
Oh,
pupusas and everything?" And she was like, because she's a Latina aunt, she was like, "Yes, yes, please, yes." And she made like so much, and I couldn't eat it.
I mean, you don't realize how much food plays a big part in culture as well, and that's such a big thing, especially with Latino culture. And I wanted to show the pupusa aspect of it because I feel like not a lot of people still really know what it is. And but I was like, hey, this is the part of it. You should try it sometime. Um, but there like I don't want to give too much away either. But there is a specific fruit that we see a lot. Um, and I really wanted to kind of show what that would look like in these different versions of LA. And I think that's a good way to visually, display what LA means to me, not only me, but to a lot of people who are here.
Completely apropos of nothing. Are you a Maduro guy or a Tostones guy?
Ooh, Maduro.
Yeah,
I think
me too.
Maduro.
Me too. So tell me about the autobiographical nature of this. How much of this is like pulled from your Hollywood misadventures? You kind of alluded a little bit to it,
Yeah.
and how much is Angelino you?
I
or
like to
Angel?
say it's very loosely based on my experiences, not necessarily my story as a filmmaker or as, a person living in LA, but there's a lot of vignettes, I would say, that I have personally experienced, but then also people that I know have experienced as well. And it, this movie really does represent a lot of the voices that live in LA more than anything else. I didn't want it to just make it about me and my own journey. I wanted to make it about a lot of Angelenos that live here. And I think they will, I'm really fortunate that we are premiering in Los Angeles and we have a big LA crowd coming that I think they are going to see themselves in this movie in some way, shape, or form. And I would honestly say beyond, like I said earlier, like this is a universal story. So I think a lot of people will resonate with, these characters and who they are and maybe see themselves in a way.
Um, let's go back to like what are the origins of this script? Have you been trying to get it made for years and years and years, or did it come out of trying to get other movies made for years and years and years? What's kind of the impetus that made you sit down and go, okay, this is the movie?
I think, when I started have success earlier in my career with YouTube and doing a lot of the viral movies and going to these meetings, I think there was a lot of me trying to figure out movies to make for other people. And that really wasn't working out for me. And there were also just stories that I didn't necessarily care about. So I finally, during the pandemic, started to sit down and like reevaluate where I was in my film career and kind of what was stopping me from really making the film that I want to make. And that's really where it all started, where I have built enough resources and relationships with actors and crew that I felt like I was ready to actually try and tackle a feature film. I've been doing shorts and sketches for so long that I really wanted to challenge myself about what it actually took to make a feature film and do it in a way where you know felt doable, felt like there wasn't that budget shouldn't matter when it comes to making a film. So that's really what we did. I wrote it in a way where like I knew that only I could shoot it, and I knew that only I could tell this story. Like we had a crew of 8, and I even then I was still wearing many different hats. I was the one doing grip and DPing and sometimes having to do sound myself, like just to make sure that I was at least telling the story that I wanted to make and not worry about whether we had enough budget to do it. And so that really helped a lot in trying to make this film. I didn't want to make it for anyone else anymore. I just wanted to make it for me. I wanted to make a movie that I wanted to see in theaters, and I think that's what we did, and I'm really proud of it.
I mean, that's the way to do it, right? If you try to chase what you think other people want, they're already going to have moved on to the next thing, if that sentence makes any sense. But you know what I'm saying. But if you make it,
You're already behind.
mhm. But if you make what you want to make, if they're not ready for it yet, they will be, or they'll go, "Oh wow, I've never seen this before. Holy cow!"
Yeah, that's what I hope. That's what I hope people get out of this story. And again, hopefully they want more. I think, it's intentional that we built all these characters and you kind of only get a glimpse of everything. There's a lot of context involved, but you don't get the full story of things. So, you know, if someone comes to me after watching this movie saying, I want to see more of this, then I'll be happy.
I've already got the trailer of the Hulu anthology series
There
of
you
all
go.
of these Los Angeles lives in my head.
Little vignettes, right? Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Um, so I mean, you shot in the city, right?
Hmm.
Um, when you're setting up the production, making sure that you can actually make this movie, is there a version of this that was shot on sound stages or a version of this that was shot in Vancouver?
No, never. Never, never, never. I always knew it was going to be in LA. I always knew that I was going to do it the way that I wanted to and with the team that I wanted to. So we were able to raise a little bit of money from a couple investor friends. My wife, Samantha, she was the main producer who figured out a lot of logistics her first time doing it. She didn't know how to produce. She's a photographer as her career, but she's really the one that pushed me. Is like, what's stopping you from just making this happen? Like, how can I help? And she really helped build that team of like, hey, like we can do this, we can figure this out, and that really that support is what allowed me to do what I could do with this film, and not worry about locations, not worry about, you know, who can we get or who can't we get. Like it was about the story first. And as long as everyone believed in the story that we were telling, where we go from it didn't matter because, you know, at its core, it's just an LA story and it's just a slice of life story. So you know, we were always going to be as an audience an observer of whatever I wanted to show. So I just had to make sure that I was telling the right story in the right way. And we were really, really fortunate to do it in the way that we did, where, you know, the locations were small, but they felt big, you know, with these parties. We didn't, you know, I wanted to show LA, but not in the LA that everyone kind of knows. I wanted to show these different pockets of LA that not a lot of people see, especially coming from South Central. You know, you hear of Watts and you think of Watts in a certain different way, I'm sure. But for me, it was like where I grew up, and it was really normal to me. So
Um, well, tell me about growing up. I mean, you don't have to get too personal, but tell me about growing up with this Latino American identity that a lot of people have, but a lot of people don't really know what to do with it. And some of it is depending on, how light or dark skin. Like I'm mixed race, so my dad was overwhelmingly white, which is why I look like this.
right. But you're still Latino though, right? You still know the culture.
Exactly.
I think that's, you know, it's more about culture than anything else. And you adopt cultures, right? Like, you know, growing up in South Central, there's a lot of Black culture as well. There, you know, going to college in the Valley, that has its own little culture there too. And so for me, I think I've always just grown up as a natural observer. I grew up watching movies, you know, day in, day out. Like my parents worked a lot during the day and during the night. So TV and film sort of was my babysitter for a long time. So I got to watch a lot of movies and kind of see what the world looked like through that lens. And as I started to grow up, you know, I wanted to start telling stories that felt more personal to me because I felt like, oh yeah, if you watch, you know, Dazed and Confused, that's one version of what slice of life could be like. But what's the Latino version of that, or what is the South Central version of that? And you know, I like doing that as a filmmaker, and I can hopefully, you know, I get to tell more stories like that.
Something that's great about this movie is that people are going to see it and they're going to see themselves in it. And you talked about growing up watching TV. Um, Not a whole lot of positive Latino role models on TV in the late 80s, early 90s. Was there a moment for you where you did finally see someone that you went, oh, that's like me, or I could do that, or I want an action figure of that guy?
Yeah. Not on the acting side of things, but Robert Rodriguez was a huge, huge, huge inspiration. What he was able to do with El Mariachi is exactly what I felt was possible. And you know, I followed a lot of like what he did in his career, and what he's been able to do was a big, big inspiration for me. So I owe a lot to him, and obviously your Tarantino's and you know your Kevin Smith is of just indie filmmakers who were just went out there and just kind of did it on their own. And that's the type of filmmaker that I wanted, always wanted to be. And I think with Angeleno, it's a what I hope is that it's a good calling card for hopefully bigger and better things while still staying grounded with, you know, who I am and the audience that I want to showcase what this perspective could look like in all genres. You know, I don't want to just make indie films. I think I'm I want to make them all. You know, like give me a genre and I'll give you a version from my perspective.
Wouldn't it be great if someone gave you like $150 million and was just like, come back with the movie in 18 months?
Oh, easy. I can do it in six.
On time, under budget.
Yeah, right.
That's how they keep it coming back. Um, have you met or worked with Robert Rodriguez?
I have not. No, I haven't had the fortune of meeting him. Hopefully someday I will, but And, for me, well, I work as a cinematographer, a traveling cinematographer for different brands and corporations and stuff. So I do get a chance to kind of meet a lot of different, celebrities. And that too in itself, having that perspective made me show like, oh, these are just ordinary people. These are just everyday people living their lives. It's not really any different other than the fact that everyone knows who they are, but they're just people to me. So that has helped me kind of in telling this story of like even we deal with the Hollywood side of LA as well in this movie, and I did want to show a grounded version of that. Like it's not that hard to talk to these people because it's really not. I've had conversations with celebrities that are just super chill and they're just there to hang out and they want to know just as much about you if they're engaged enough. They're willing to talk to you. So
You've got okay, as a director, writer, producer, the buck stops with you. Tell
yes.
me about that that moment where the actor goes, "Ooh, can we try it this way?" Are you game to try it that way, or are you like, "This is my vision"?
No, I am very much a collaborative director, and I think that's what has allowed me to have the actors that I have in this film who not only just believe in me, but they know that I believe in them and what they're bringing to the table. And that's just as important as a filmmaker is to trust your cast. And so that was a big, big thing that allowed me to put this movie in a way that felt really grounded and real because the characters and the actors were real about it. Like I had a conversation with everyone about what this character is. Here's my perspective of what this character could be, but what do you think this character is? Who is this character to you? And they brought it. They all really, really brought it. And I think the film is better for that. So I'm very much a collaborative filmmaker. I'm not very much like oh, this is the way it has to be. I love being surprised. I'm really good with chaos, I like to say. I embrace chaos. If challenges are coming my way, I try to navigate it and figure out solutions to that, which we had to do for this film, considering it was A, such a low budget, B, we didn't have secured locations every time. So a lot of the times we just had to kind of like run and gun it and figure it out. And that comes with the cast also trusting me in my vision as well. So like they have to trust me as much as I trust them, and that relationship really helped make this movie.
I gotta say that scene. I don't want to spoil anything, but that scene near the end with the mother, where he's talking about how much he has to work and the help that she needs and the help that he needs. When you're at all the award shows and they're like the nominee is this guy for Angeleno, that's the clip they're gonna play.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's cool. I like that.
And there's something about the geography of LA that you capture so well that a lot of people don't. You've talked about it a bit, but I got a real strong sense of the geography of LA. I've only been to LA a few times, mostly just for work, so hotel to hotel.
Mhm.
But tell me about the I don't know, did you feel a duty to kind of show the parts of LA that aren't always in the movies or that always get a bad rap in the movies?
Yes, I think that was definitely intentional in the way that when you hear about movies that take place in LA, you kind of see the same B-roll all the time or the same, the monuments, here's the Hollywood sign, here's this, here's that. But I, while that's there and that's valid, it's not the LA that I know. It's not the LA that I grew up in. So I really wanted to show the sides of LA where everyone who is from LA actually knows what they are like. And I think that's who I made that for. True Angelenos will know what means when they see it and what it means to them. And so that's that's what I hope people get out of this movie in general because like it's not just a movie about LA, but it does play such a big part in why this movie exists and why the message of living in a city built for dreamers is there is because this is a city where you can still dream and where things are still possible despite what you might think. Like we're making it happen now. We're here. I'm doing it right now. I'm living proof that that's possible because I'm 43 years old now and here's my feature film and I never thought I would be in this position. I've been doing this for 20 years now, and it's just never too late.